So sitting next to you, or sitting behind you or front, so sitting next to you, you might be sitting next to a black devil.
States in Psalms chapter 82, verse 6, I have sent ye of gods, and all of you are children of the Most High.
This is the Elder Raziel with a message for the children of the Elohim. I walked a long journey on the short path, grafted as non-mind, as mind expands, man itself came through with the master teacher. Get wealth from what I have to teach you, not a preacher. The Anunnaki created this creature, fully packed with features. NUWABU, knocking off leeches. Peace to Malachi, Ziyor, Noble Ali, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, respect and pay homage. From the NUWABIAN tribe, we hope to see you. We still kicking the flows, all the girls know. Just list the show so your mind grows toward a genetic explosion. Pass out whoever was chosen by deception to sell out Negro, the greatest destruction. Without question, knowledge is a weapon. Like Cain, ain't no half stepping to a greater direction.
I want to talk to y'all real quick, you know what I'm saying? Get personal shit. Hard to play, family man. Hard to play. You don't even know where the family stand. Too many egos, too many voices that ain't reaching out to people. I'm at 64. I mean real blood. Pops ain't home, but if he still was, minus the allegations. I wish I knew if it was really true or fabrication. Some of your kids think you did it, got me looking at you strange. Like would they be the same if they ain't grow with the pain? I mean 200 kids you couldn't find the time for. Do you regret not making time for us? Still screaming free you. Unanswered questions got me wanting to go see you. I'm sure you was dealing with pressure just trying to be you. Heard your own son ratted on you to them people. That's nasty. Even if you did it, the thought would've never passed me. As if you asked me. Everybody out for self. Quicker to go to friends before I ask family for help. I'm tired of people asking me why Jacob don't help. I don't know. Damn. It feel like we drowning in quicksand. They throw more salt, I'm thinking they reaching for my hands. 500 acres, Egyptian theme on the land. Way too much power in to be a black man.
I'm talking to the Anunnaki. With me, I'm talking with Inky. Right. You know what I'm saying? I'm dealing with Inky because I know who Inky is. I know who Inky's family is. I know who Inky is. And I know what I knew is. And I know when the Holy Tablet was coming, I know who was there and what he was talking to. Right. I knew behind the face of Anu, there was a force that goes back further than that, 9 dimensions. But everything was not for the mortal ear at the time. Right. That's why in Christianity, they use the word faith. You know, or in Islam, they use the word mu'min or iman, faith. But when it comes down to with Nuwabian, they say, listen, Nuwabian, let me teach you about Anu and Inky. They want me to make God manifest for us so we will believe. That sounds very familiar, right? Yeah, they want everything. They don't want to put any trust in their leaders or their teachers. They want me to put everything on. Had I gave them everything the way it was coming to me, the devil would have long time, the reptilian shapeshifters for a long time saw where I was going and nipped it off. I had to put out the radical. I had to jump from place to place. I had to jump from name to name. I had to jump from places. And in each one, every time I gave them something more. Right. About the whole big picture, which we now come down and put. Now you're going to start seeing the whole picture come together as one thing, and you're going to see everything from day one, from the day one, from the day.
Rit Nalej Radio with your host. Hold on. With your host, Tutashima Herokayu. And sorry, y'all, I got this new setup. I'm still trying to figure things out here. I actually did a recording of a show that I did previously of Count 4, Section C. And we already got that out, so. See something going on with the sound already. Why is that? Why is that? Okay. But don't y'all hear a delay with the music in the back? This seems like I can't stop it. Okay, I think that's with me. But let's see if we can get through this, all right? So let's look at what day it is. It's always important to look at the Nuwabic date, especially if you claim you're a Nuwabian. So here at UNNM.net, we got the 14th month of NUWABU. It's the 3rd week, 4th day, Talashu, Ninti, the day of Ninti. So year 84, the 14th month of NUWABU, 3rd week, 4th day of Ninti. All right. Wait a minute. I'm going to have to turn down this music in the back because I think it has something to do with the mic. Because every time I talk on the mic, there's a little delay. You can hear the hi-hat kind of double. Okay. So we're going to turn that way down. Hopefully you can still hear the music in the back. All right. But today, we want to continue our reading of the 9 ball. Now, if we could remember, some of the basic things we've been learning here is that 9 mind, the 9 ball, and the rules of racism. If y'all don't remember, go back and watch the videos in this whole series. I'll try to make a playlist so it'd be easy to get to, and maybe update some of the show notes so you know exactly what topics we're reading. But this book is meant for intelligent people by nature, of a 9 mind by nature, that are able to figure things out and reason things out by way of 3 things: evidence, experience, and reasoning. So if you're not that type of person, it don't mean you can't be a Nuwabian. I think there's a big misconception of what a Nuwabian is. On a technical national level, a Nuwabian is a person who is a fellow of the United Nuwabian Nation of Moors and can show documentation, ID, and a naturalization certificate. That's about it, y'all. Now, if you want to study and become a master at NUWABU, then you would have to join the order. That's something different, Because some people think, oh, Nuwabian, you have to be this smart person. No. Just like everybody in every other country is not a smart person. You got idiots in every nation, so you don't have to be a super genius to join the United Nuwabian Nation of Moors. And yes, we are Moors, not Negro, colored, or blacks. Right? So I think there needs to be some understanding there. I may break that down in a future video. And I know I haven't made a video in a while. And that's because I've been really busy trying to get this company up on its feet. That is Moon Logistics, LLC. So it's doing pretty good so far, but it does keep me busy. And so I'm not able to do as many videos and audios as I want to. But nonetheless, the show gonna keep coming, no matter how long the break is between shows. So we continue to pray for the master teacher, Amanubi Rakhta, and people on the internet with names like Amanubi Rakhta, stop it. Get a different name. That name is forbidden in the United Nuwabian Nation of Moors unless you're the master teacher. You know what I'm saying? So that's a big no-no. And you can't name yourself Anu either. Your application will be rejected. And that's about it. Well, there's more, but that's what I want to get off my chest now. Because people think it's a game, living their little fake Facebook life. And we know Facebook life is not real. It's not real, y'all. There's a dude who tried to join the nation about 3 weeks ago, and we had a pretty good conversation. He was out of South Carolina. I ain't gonna put his business out there, but the brother was struggling, with multiple children. Children get taken away from him and his baby moms. He's living with his mama in his 30s. And I put him in the government seat, and I shouldn't have. And again, it didn't play out well. It just didn't play out well. The brother didn't have nothing to offer. So he can't offer nothing to his mama, he can't offer nothing to anybody around. He's useless. And there's too many Moors like this. I call Moorish niggas. Can't do nothing for nobody. You living like a nigga, but you call yourself a Moor. It don't work that way. And I'm gonna call you out. I'm gonna call you out on that. It's only right. By God's nature, it's only right. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. To the Prophet Muhammad, to the Master Teacher, the Messiah, Ahmadu Rakhtar, Al-Sayyid, Isa Hadil, You know what? There's a delay on here, and it's really messing up my speech, so I'm going to actually turn this way down so I could barely even hear myself. I just want to know that I'm being recorded. Yeah. Hello? Alright, hold up. Okay, I'm gonna cut this out. Around 11 minutes, okay. Alright. So we want to continue the reading of the 9-ball. After my ranting. I think this is really important that as Moors we pick it up. Gotta pick it up, whether you're MST of A, NOI, UNM, you gotta pick it up because the babies is counting on you. The babies is counting on you, man. If you can't do nothing yourself, then you probably shouldn't have children. You probably should not have children. Because all you're gonna do is, especially I'm talking to the black community, and so-called Nuwabians and so-called Moors. So there are some true Moors out there, but I think y'all be being a little bit too secretive with the information, and you're letting people like Taj Tariq Bey run around with fake paperwork, fake knowledge. He like one of them prison brothers. He just be making stuff up. Now the speed limit law is a fraud. And that fraud goes back to the Queen of England and the Treaty of Verona. And the Treaty of Verona go back 50 million years to... it sounds ridiculous, man. The people are following this. You know what I'm saying? They get arrested. They're following it. This man is their master teacher. But you ask them, how did he really help you? And they can't show you nothing. So that means that they're under the spell of Taj Tariq Bey. Now they say, oh, well, you under the spell of Dr. York. And, it could be. But Dr. York has improved my life with the books. He's provided businesses with the HTM. He provided the nation. Taj Tariq Bey provided them things. Taj Tariq Bey I don't even think he has a book out. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't want to see whose stick is longer in the fight, but whose reach is longer, you know what I mean? But there will come a day where everything is challenged, everything is questioned, so I invite the questions for all the haters of Dr. York and the haters of NUWABU. And that's it. Master Teacher wrote many books dismantling these organizations. The 360 questions asked Hebrew Israelites, Sunni Muslims, Freemasons. I think he had one about the Jews too. But there's also a book called 360 Questions Asked the Nuwabians. you know, the Nuwabians inevitably became the Sabians. So this is the pre-Sabian era. You know, another question to ask the Sabians, which is not in that book, do you speak the same language as the Queen of Sheba? Do you speak that Sabian language? Or did you make up some Sabian language that is not historically tied to the Queen of Sheba and what you're trying to perpetrate? And I think it's the latter. I inevitably think it's the latter. I actually have the Sabian dictionary from the original organic Sabian language, and it ain't nothing like what they're making up now. So that's actually a disrespect to the Queen of Sheba. You know, out of Yemen and going over to Ethiopia, all that was her territory. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of a disrespect, and it's deceitful at the same time. Now they'll say, oh, well, you're strengthening the language or shifting the language of NUWABU, of Nuwabic, to something that Dr. York didn't create. But here's the thing, y'all. Dr. York said, I'm giving you the language. I'm giving you the language to tell your story and to teach your children. Right? And since some of these Nuwabians never had classes to teach the language, and those who were interested in the language still learning, you know, all the way from the green and white book, the Nubic book, where the master teacher says you got to study the IPA, which is the International Phonetical Alphabet, to figure out the sounds of letters, which a lot of you old school Nuwabians or Nuwabians didn't really even learn the language. And Dr. York was recorded on the Isles of Patmos series that, you know, that your articulation isn't right, your grammar is not right, the way that you write the letters. He said y'all was messing up on that back in the day. He said you never picked up ancient Moorish language because you didn't know how to speak it. You didn't put the effort into it because you're really dumb Negroes. You're really dumb. You're a dumb Negro. And so you get mad at those who do put in the work to reconstruct the language and to develop it even further, because Dr. York wasn't even done with the language. He wasn't done with it. That's why he said, I'm giving it to you. You finish it. Come on, Nuwabian. I gave you everything you needed. You finish it. But some of these slaves, because if you're a slave, you're not a Nuwabian. You can count yourself out. You're not even a human being if you're a slave. What do the caucus always say? You're 3/4 of a person? I would say you're half a person. You're half a person, because the difference between a slave and a victim, right, which it's talked about in our Constitution. But a lot of you old Nuwabians really don't read, or you're reading the wrong stuff. So if I paraphrase the Constitution, inshallah, the Constitution, the master teacher mentions that you're not a slave, you're a victim of a crime. And so if you're a victim of a crime, there's usually restitution and reparation, right? But since you've accepted the word Negro, or even Indian just means you're dark skinned. It's a Latin word. It means a deep bluish, purplish color. So basically any melanated person that they saw, they would call them an Indian. From India to Africa to even some parts of Asia where there's heavily melanated Asians, you know, which they're not Moors. Just because they have dark skin doesn't mean they're Moors. Stop being obsessive with skin color. That's only one part of your genetics. It's only one part of your genetics. And they do not consider themselves Moors. Go ask them. Filipinos, Malaysians, Burmese. I know because I grew up with them. They do not consider themselves Moors. So you can miss me with that one too. You don't even know what your people look like, fool. Don't even know what your people look like. But anyway, back to the Constitution. You're not a slave, or you're a slave if you want to be. That door is always open here in America. Always open. You can walk right through it. They will be happy for you to walk right through it. But if you want to be a Nuwabian is a human being with rights under the United Nuwabian Nation Moor's Constitution. And he's not a stateless person. Unless he wants to be. He wants to be a slave, a 14th Amendment slave, he may do so. It's his choice. You fight or flight. That's what they say. Fight or flight. So either way it goes, you're going to have to choose. You're going to have to choose. And the gods always make the right decision because NUWABU is right knowledge, right reasoning, right understanding, which leads to sound right reasoning. No. Let me take that back. Right knowledge, right wisdom, right understanding, which leads to sound right reasoning. Okay? So we don't argue with fools, right? If the people don't like the way that we live in, that's fine. As long as we don't hurt them, if they try to hurt us, we protect ourselves. That's all right to preserve life. So anyway, I know I'm ranting today. I haven't talked to y'all in a while. Peace and blessings. Let's get into count 4. Section D. Right? 42. The opposites of the positive factors of nature and the negative factors of nature. The opposites are the positive forces of nature versus the negative forces of nature. The true opposites among the races are the Ethiopian race, Moorish race, and the Caucasian race. The opposite forces of nature are the living and the dead. The living are those forces of nature which constantly revolve to preserve and magnify life, and the dead are the forces of nature which resolve to destroy and nullify life while preserving and magnifying death. Therefore, since the Ethiopian and the Caucasian races are opposite by nature, one must represent life and the other death by nature. Thereby it stands to sound reason that, since the Ethiopian race was first on the planet, it would represent life. For there must be life before there can be death. Okay, 43. But life and death exist and have their cycles by the laws of nature. The Ethiopian race can never be liberated without knowing, accepting, and practicing the laws of the opposites. The 9 Nuwabian guides are based on the laws of the opposites. One-time slaveholder Abraham Lincoln, who became president of the United States, knew lots about the laws of the opposites and made national policy statements based on his knowledge of these laws, and his statements follow. June 26th. We all know what day June 26th is. If you don't, you better go ask somebody. June 26, 1857 at Springfield, Illinois. There is a natural disgust in the minds of nearly all white people at the idea of an indiscriminate amalgamation of the white and black races. A separation of the races is the only perfect preventative of amalgamation, but as immediate separation is possible, the next best thing is to keep them apart where they are not already together. September 18, 1858, at Charleston, Illinois. I will say that I am not, nor have ever been in the favor of making voters or jurors of Negroes, nor of qualifying them to hold office, nor to intermarry with white people. And I will say in addition to this that there is a physical difference between the white and black races, which I believe will forever forbid the two races living together on terms of social and political equality. And inasmuch as they cannot so live, while they do remain together, there must be the position of superior and inferior, and as much as any other man am in favor of having the superior position assigned to the white race. Now let's pause here for a moment there. Now, you know there's a case of Abraham Lincoln defending a Moor, right? And I forgot what the case was. I hope I put it in the show notes. But Abraham Lincoln was a lawyer before he was president, and he actually defended a Moor in Illinois because the Moor had married a Caucasian woman. And the Caucasian woman's brother, cousin, uncle called this guy a nigger. He said, oh no, nigger can't have property, can't marry, you know, my family member, yada, yada, yada. The dude was like, no, I'm not a nigger, I'm a Moor. But since he was melanated, he still caught hell, right? So he hired a lawyer. That lawyer being Abraham Lincoln. Now, Abraham Lincoln said, though his skin may be dark, he's not a Negro, he's a Moor. And he has every right as a white man in his constitution to own property, own land, and have his rights defended. So people out there saying that, oh, you just don't want to be black. Yeah, you're right, I don't want to be black. Or any other more in the position that I'm in, right? Because it's all based on your mental identity, how you see yourself. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there. But let's continue the reading of this. See, knowledge is power, not emotions. You know, if you're emotional about the facts, because you know the facts and you know how to channel your energy, yeah, you can be emotional that way. But if you're emotional out of ignorance, like I see a lot of black people are emotional out of ignorance, your days are numbered. Your days are numbered. This is the days of information and truth, not the days of ignorance and wilding out and booty shaking and committing fraud. I think a lot of black people like to commit fraud now, you know, especially single black mothers with multiple children. So it's a jungle out here, y'all. So let's continue. August 21st, 1859 at Ottawa, Illinois. I hold that a Negro is not and never ought to be a citizen of the United States. I hold that this government was made on a white basis by white men for the benefit of white men and their posterity forever, and should be administered by white men and none others. Now, these are some very strong racial views by Abraham Lincoln. And I know it's hard to believe, but black and white are not races. They're not races, they're legal statuses. Right? If you're a state citizen, I know we haven't talked about state versus a federal citizen, but you don't want to be a federal citizen, and that's what black people are, the 14th Amendment citizens. And you say, well, Luther, why did they make the 13th and 14th Amendment? Well, after the Negro was not free, he was never free. The colored person is never free. Never, ever. Never a free person. He is an artificial being, like a corporation. So when the North won, right, and they brought the South back into the Union, they had to compensate the South for their slaves. So they paid them. They paid all the slave masters for their slaves, and they were emancipated. They were emancipated by price, by purchase. Right? So the Negroes, the slaves were purchased, and they were not free. They're still not free to this day. It may be the illusion, the color of freedom, but it's not. Because that's when they made the Emancipation Proclamation. Right? And after the Emancipation Proclamation, that's when you have the 13th and 14th Amendments. The 13th Amendment says you cannot be made a slave except or saved, but I think they use the word except for the conviction of a crime. And then you wonder why so many Negroes are in prison, working at, what's it called, Job Corps or something Corps. It's like a prison corporation they work for, you know, if they choose to, where they can make like $1 a day or something like that. So even slaves get paid, right? That also proves that slaves get paid. $1 a day, that's still wages, but it's slave wages. You know, but it's good enough for the brothers in prison. You know what I'm saying? And so now that gets deep. We ain't gonna go into it no further than this. However, you have to realize that even if you're a Moor, you're being targeted. You are being targeted. If you just listen back to what Abraham Lincoln, a lot of Caucasian people still feel like this to this day. They're just not going to say it publicly. Some will. Some don't give a damn. They will. But a lot of Caucasians feel like this, and that's why black people, so-called black people, and even Moors, who cannot make the transition from being Negro, black, colored to fully being a Moor mentally, they're also caught up in this black stuff. You know, this color game. You know, which doesn't even exist. There's no such thing as a black person. And no such thing as a white person. Your legal status may be white if you have property, you know, because remember they had the term free white persons too, which excluded Italians and Irish. So everybody with black skin, and you know the original meaning of black is pale. So we'll get into how they messed up their own language later. From Old English to this Creole crap that they all got to speak in today. But let's continue. August 14, 1862, to Negroes at Washington. I'm guessing Washington, D.C. Even when you cease to be slaves, you are yet far removed from being placed on an equality with white people on this broad continent. Not a single man of your race is made the equal of a single man of ours. Go where you are treated best, and the ban is still upon you. I cannot alter it if I would. So I hope that y'all listen to that and you wonder why the United Nuwabian Nation of Moors is here. You wonder. You wonder. Big baby, you wonder why he's here. Well, I think that pretty much says it all for my Negro friends there. Okay, 44. The statement of Lincoln verifies that the United States government was created by Caucasoids, that is whites. Well, white is something pure, right? So I wouldn't even say they're white. I'd say they're Caucasoid. I'd say we are more white than they are. But I'm not talking about skin color. I'm not talking about skin color. I'm talking about legal status. So the government was created by Caucasians, that is whites, for the benefit of whites and none other. And secondly, Lincoln's statements show that he knew enough about the nature of his race and the law of the opposites to understand that the Ethiopian and Caucasoid races would never be equal in the same place at the same time. Therefore, it is vitally important that we disclose the elements of the laws of the opposites at this time. One of the times is which they are most needed, the time of captivity. We should know that according to the law of opposites, 1, if the dead are to live and rule, they must do so on the ignorance, life, blood, suffering, strength, and death of the living. 2, pain and pleasure must offset each other. 3, those who represent the living and those who represent the dead cannot be equal in the same place at the same time. 4, power of the living and dead combined can be but 100%. The light, 5, the light and activities, the knowledge and order of existence depend on the positive and negative forces of nature. 6, what seems to be best for an individual of race may not be the best for that individual's race. And 7, knowledge always rules ignorance. You hear that? My Negro friends, knowledge always rules ignorance. And I just spoke about that. Being emotional, but being emotional out of ignorance instead of being emotional out of being knowledgeable or having knowledge. All right, 45. Let's examine number 1 in the foregoing paragraph and what it means to us Ethiopians as individuals and as a race, and what it means to our efforts of liberation. The Caucasian race is the perfection of death and is the living death in the flesh. Therefore, in order for it to exist and rule, it must have victims to use as scapegoats. Jesus. The Jesus doctrine, the cross doctrine, is the doctrine of the dead because after death, no one sees, feels, tastes, hears, smells, or thinks. One must have eyes to see, nerves to feel, tongue and palate to taste, ears to hear, nostrils to smell, and a brain to think. And only the physical person can provide these things because all these parts die with physical death of one's body. Furthermore, how can the dead offer his life after death when they have no life of their own? Ghost God has no blood, is why it must find blood elsewhere in order to survive. The Caucasian race is the posterity of ghosts. Let's pause there. The dead offer us life after death when they have no life of their own. Does that sound like a fair deal? My Christian brothers and sisters, does that sound like a good deal? I want y'all to think about that. You know, and the Christian preacher making an old lady jump out of the chair, start foaming at the mouth on the floor. Is that a positive thing? Is that a calming spirit? Like Yeshua said, is that a calming spirit? The Holy Ghost? Is that the Holy Ghost? That's not the same Holy Ghost that's explained in the Bible. The Bible don't say anything about making the dead. I mean, we're really making the woman dead. I said it on accident. I'm going to go ahead and finish that thought. She really is dying. She's acting like the dead, foaming at the mouth, going through dead ritual. You know, so anyway, let's continue. 46. The Jesus doctrine, that is the doctrine of the dead, is vampirism. And as long as the dead can get us Ethiopians who represent life by nature to believe in vampirism, the doctrine of the dead, the future, well-being, and rule by the dead are assured. And this means no possible liberation for us victims of captivity. Moreover, as long as we believe in and follow the dead, we Ethiopians will remain mentally dead, hardly able to think our way out of an open door. Wow. And this makes the thought of liberation and freedom a cruel hoax. The dead lives on the suffering, blood, and death of the living by destroying the living minds of the living with ignorance. And ignorance renders the living almost helpless. Then Dracula can live and prey on his victims, the ignorant. The dead must sap the lives of the living because they have no life of their own. But when we quit supporting the dead by refusing to believe their deceptions, and our knowledge continues to grow, the dead will become sealed in the earth again, for the reign of terror will be terminated, because they will not have our ignorance to survive on. Then we Ethiopians can have liberation and freedom again. Remember, the symbol of the dead is the cross, Christianity, and the dead must pray on the living in order to survive. All struggles and wars of blood and suffering are the results of the will and power of the dead, six ether and ghosts, the negative forces of nature, because pain is their pleasure and blood is their survival. I mean, that's pretty much self-evident. That's pretty much self-evident. Verse 46. That's wow. That's pretty powerful, man. That was very powerful from the master teacher. 47. The second law mentioned is that pleasure must be offset by pain and vice versa. We scientists made it clear that the law mentioned first is fact, and binding by nature, because the dead has no life of their own, thereby must rob the living of theirs as they are to live and rule. In this second law we mentioned, we wish to make it clear, this law is fact and binding by nature, because orderly existence must have balance, and when there is all pleasure and no pain, or all pain and no pleasure, all balance is destroyed, and orderly existence ceases to exist. Meaning, there is a complete one-sidedness or chaos. What this means to our Ethiopian liberation is thus: the more pleasure we have, the more pain we must suffer, thereby making our liberation that much more difficult, because pain must offset pleasure by the laws of the opposites. Alright, 48. One reason Caucasians do not wish to separate from Negroes is they wish to use Negroes as their scapegoat. When Caucasian pleasure increases to the point to where it must be offset by pain and suffering, the dead urges one or more Caucasians to go looking for some Negroes to brutalize and kill. The Negro in his or her ignorance is the Caucasian's Jesus, meaning his scapegoat and prey. And there is nothing effective we Ethiopians can do about it at this time but find, study, accept, and practice knowledge that we may regain our mental power necessary to liberate ourselves by whatever means needed. From mental power comes all other powers. We Ethiopians can stop the Caucasian, Dracula, from preying on us by refusing to accept their false teachings and start practicing our own way of life. 49. As the third law mentioned stated, opposites cannot be equal in the same place at the same time. Because opposites are oppositions by nature, and Caucasians are oppressive by nature, because they are empowered by grave yard forces. Therefore, they suppress, oppress, and repress as a natural force of action. The Caucasian nature makes it impossible to live with him on an equal basis. If we do not have the power to oppress him, he will surely oppress us. Therefore, the best thing for us is racial separation and not racial integration, which is racial suicide and genocide. Since by law of nature, opposites cannot be equal in the same place at the same time, we know that so-called civil rights and equal rights by Negro organizations in the United States of America are another cruel hoax perpetuated upon Ethiopian people. Hence, the answer is not civil and equal rights, and Abraham Lincoln made this very clear, but the answer is natural rights, as outlined in Liberation Information. Opposites cannot be equal in the same place at the same time, because opposites are the reverse of each other by nature. Now that's a law right there. That's very good. From the sacred wisdom to Huti. 50. The fourth law mentions relates to us that the powers of the opposites combined can only be 100%. And this means as the power of one increases, the power of the other must decrease. And the science of it to us Ethiopians exists. As our Ethiopian mentality increases with knowledge, Caucasian mentality will decrease because knowledge is too much light for Caucasians to stand. Thereby, their mentality fades away like a disappearing fog that gets thinner and thinner. Plus the fact that mental power can be only 100%. By the same laws, physical powers of the opposites are but 100%. And as one increases, the other decreases in proportion. Knowledge will increase our Ethiopian mentality and in turn our physical powers. Do not look for miracles to happen, but time and cycle, and our efforts will turn the table and thin the ball. 51. The law mentioned in fifth place brings out the fact that the opposite in some form or other are interdependent of each other. When the Caucasian race fades off the scene, the rest of mankind is left as the opposite of the Ethiopian race. When mankind in general revolves off the scene, it revolves off the scene. The Ethiopian race has developed its own opposite in the person of certain pigmies that represent the negative factors of nature. To say the light and activities The knowledge and order of existence depend on the positive and negative forces of nature is to include reproduction of self by the opposites called male and female. However, the science of this law is set forth that it is nonsense to think that one opposite is going to completely destroy the other, in the sense that religionists think one day God is going to destroy the devil or all evil. This is nonsense because opposites are based on each other by nature, and from them combined come all knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Just as all light in the room comes from a bulb or bulbs that cannot burn without positive and negative factors of nature. 52. A bulb cannot burn on positive alone or negative alone. It must have some of both. The way it is with the orderly existence, the ratio of positive to negative at the bottom of the circle where we are now is 2 to 7. 2 parts positive, 7 parts negative. But at the top of the circle, the ratio is reversed. 7 parts positive and 2 parts negative. Of course, we are now at the bottom of the circle, the animal world, the world of the dead, 2 parts positive and 7 parts negative. The law in 5th position teaches us to quit looking for something from somewhere, all good to come, and do for us what we must do for ourselves. 53. The negatives in the Ethiopian race with the 2 positive 7 negative ratio, 2 P7N ratio cannot see the importance of maintaining the law mentioned in the number 6 position. They do not see the significance of working back toward our 7P2N ratio. The acme of Ethiopian culture. What seems to be best for an individual in our race may not be best for the race, but what is best for the race is always best for the individual. If the bootlickers were Caucasians and our race could understand this law of self-preservation, we would not have traded our race called Uncle Toms. Uncle Toms and Aunt Tamamas are people who found an opening in support for what they by nature wanted to do all the time. Working with the opposition or opposite against one's own preservation is punishable by death according to the universal laws of opposites. When one puts his selfishness and self-interest before the survival and well-being of his race, he or she is a traitor and deserves what the laws of nature demand for such crime. Working with the opposition opposite against your own race is below the animal state, and that person deserves to be treated so. Yes, there's a lot of Uncle Toms in every one of these black organizations, even Moorish organizations. So that's the reason why the Caucasian is always able to break these organizations, because there's always a sellout. Okay, 54. One reason for these deliberations by us Ethiopian scientists is to open your eyes that you may see further that we have shown. In other words, you should be able by now, if you have read all the booklets, the 9-ball and Bible interpretation explanations, to gather correct and effective information on your own directly from nature. We need as much correct information or right information as we can obtain, because knowledge always rules ignorance is one main reason why the Caucasians is ruling Ethiopia almost everywhere. And you know that's where KRS-One got his name. Right. Knowledge reigns supreme over nearly everyone. He got it from Dr. York. I just wanted to throw that in there. This knowledge and ignorance law is mentioned in the 7th position. Knowledge and ignorance are opposites, and when the captive obtains as much universal knowledge as the captor and practices in that knowledge, normally and naturally the slave will become par with the slave master. Then the master will desire to slave the slave to be elsewhere, because the slave becomes a real challenge to the master's ruling power. 55, last verse. All laws and codes of nature are interwoven together and thereby form one big network called the nature of nature. The motivator and activator in the one supreme being. The one supreme being, of course, is nature in general. absolute nature, all space, all matter, all time, and their products. Well, that nature in general, the absolute nature, is what we as Nuwabians call Temta. And so did our ancestors, the ancient Sumerians called Temta. There is no escape from slavery and captivity and oppression by the dead except by the knowledge and practice of the laws and codes of nature that are in favor of the Ethiopian race. These booklets are the outline to the knowledge we Ethiopians need for mental liberation, which is the prerequisite to physical liberation. And that will conclude the 9-ball count 4, section D. We're going to finish out not only the 9-ball, but also Bible interpretations and explanations. And as we leave here, I want to encourage everybody to check out UNNM.net. We'll have a newsletter coming soon, so we'll have a subscription up there for you guys. We got the Nuwabian tunicas coming out. Probably try to have it by June 26th. This is the same clothing that's in the wellness book, the Supreme Mathematics book. We want to continue, being Nuwabians and not known by another name. Let me address this too. Let's address this. Nuwabians are Nuwabians. Nuwabians are not Sabians. I see they're trying to mix up the names and no, that's not what it says in our Constitution. So I see them over there lying, trying to include because our name holds weight. See, this is the name that they abandoned. They ran from the Caucasians when the master teacher got kidnapped, right? Because the master teacher is a political prisoner. When he got kidnapped, and to sell out Negroes that helped him get kidnapped, they went off and started the Sabian thing, which the master teacher never created. They just made it up as a mockery of NUWABU. So what ended up happening is around 2015-16, they started to ridicule those who called themselves Nuwabians. They also started to say shut down the nation, shut down HTM, shut down AMOM. Now if you know the master teacher, when would the master teacher ever tell you to shut down those organizations, especially the nation? Especially the nation. He would never tell you to shut down the nation. He would never say that. And you can't shut down AMOM because AMOM's been here for thousands of years. So I don't know what the Sabians thought they were doing with their satanic tactics. Talking about Anu's here to eat people. Why would the master teacher teach us about Anu being the Most High if Anu just wants to eat us? Wouldn't that make the master teacher look real bad, deceitful, and satanic? So we know that the Sabians, I don't want to say it's an evil organization, I won't take it that far, but they are the enemies of NUWABU. And I'll just leave it at that. Now somebody said, I guess there's a woman in Arizona, I guess it's the leader of the Sabians now, I don't even know. They don't really have leadership to me, they're just a bunch of monkeys running around reading books. But she lied and said, oh, Nuwabians are a tribe within the Sabian corporation. And I'm like, man, you guys are really lost over there. That organization ain't going nowhere. So don't roll with the fake. Always roll with the true. Always be true. You want to join the nation? Go to www.UNNM.net. Go on the citizenship tab and fill out your 19-1 and get it turned in. For the salvation of your soul and of your identity. And with that said, Wadu.